Hey guys, so here we go. We're talking about college because I know many of you want to go to college and have talked about your desire to either go to a 2-year college or a trade school or even a university. So this trimester is going to be all about colleges, all the things you need to know about colleges. So let's start with the different types of colleges that we have. So, in Pennsylvania and across the United States, we have several different types of colleges and universities. Your options are 4-year college, 4-year university, and we'll talk about what the difference is between the two. There's also 2-year colleges, and trade schools fall into that. So you might want to go and learn a trade and not spend 4 years in a college. Um, you can probably earn the same amount of money as if you would go to college to a 4-year university. The difference is you get to decide, right? It depends on what you want to be when you grow up. You can start out with a 2-year degree and then go to work for somebody and then eventually go to night school and earn your bachelor's. It's entirely up to you. Once you graduate from high school, the options are yours and you get to decide. From K through 12, you don't really have a lot of choice. You have to get a high school diploma. You have to go through elementary school to get to middle school, and then middle school to get to high school. And then you have to graduate from high school in order to move on. But once you get that high school diploma in your hand, the sky's the limit. So let's talk about 4-year colleges and universities first. So if you go to a 4-year school and you last the entire 4 years, then you can come out with I apologize, these aren't in any order. After 2 years, you can earn an associate's degree. After 4 years, you can earn a bachelor's degree. Add another 2 years onto that, and you can get a master's, and then add another 4 years onto that, and you can get a PhD. So it just depends on how far you want to go. So, what is the difference between a 4-year college and a university? Universities are generally larger in size, meaning like I would say like 20 or 3,000 to 5,000 more than a smaller school, upwards to like 10 to 15, even 20,000. Like you think big schools, you think Penn State University. They award degrees at different levels, bachelor's, master's, PhD, often made up of smaller colleges. So within that big university, you have um, smaller houses within that. You can get a um, bachelor's degree in business, you can get a bachelor's degree in the arts, you can get a bachelor in science, you can become a nurse, you can go into engineering. There's many, many different options um, at a 4-year university. It can be public and it can be private. So when you think public, um, which we'll talk about more on the next slide, but public means that it's available to anyone in the public, and the state usually provides some funding, so it's a lot cheaper. Private schools are pretty much run by their donors, much like CB. We rely on people to donate to our school so that it doesn't cost you anything. But a private college is different. You can apply for grants and things like that, but they tend to be a lot more expensive because they don't get state funding. So liberal arts colleges or are also 4-year colleges. They're generally smaller in size, so think 5,000 or less on campus. And they focus mainly on getting an undergraduate education, which means a bachelor's degree. So what you would typically get in 4 years at a university is a bachelor's degree. If you want to go to a smaller college then you would choose a liberal arts college. Or something smaller than a university, you would go to a liberal arts college and just get your bachelor's. Emphasis is on liberal arts, which is your basics, English, math, science, history. You're not really majoring in anything specifically. And they tend to be private schools, although there are some that are public, but they tend to be private. So some examples you'll see here. Examples of universities include Bloomsburg University, Millersville, Lincoln, Penn State, which I already mentioned about, Temple, Arcadia, Drexel, University of Pennsylvania. You've probably heard of all those. They're located in the city. And then over here underneath liberal arts colleges, Bryn Mawr, Albright, Haverford, Rosemont, Swarthmore, Moravian. There's 39 liberal arts colleges in Pennsylvania, and there's more than 100 universities. So more choices on that end. So the difference between public and private. So public, typically referred to as state schools, supported by state funds, like Penn State is a state school. It's the Pennsylvania State University. And the tuition is typically lower if you live in Pennsylvania and you go to college in Pennsylvania. And private schools are not supported by state funds. They don't get any money from the state or the federal government for that matter. They are supported by tuition, meaning you pay for your tuition, and private contributions from wealthy donors. And they tend to be more expensive than public institutions, like we talked about already. Included in those colleges and universities are HBCUs. How many of you know what HBCU stands for? If you don't know, maybe you should Google it, because you should know. Or let's go to the next slide. So HBCUs is historically black colleges and universities. And they were founded by African Americans who were not, they were founded before African Americans were admitted to go to college or universities, because there was clearly intelligent black people who decided that it was not fair that only white men got to go to college, and so they decided to start their own, which is pretty spectacular because it was a long, long time ago, long before civil rights became an issue. The mission is clearly to educate Black Americans. Examples of that are Hampton, Howard, Morehouse, Spelman. Lincoln is one. In fact, if you went on the trip with us last year, we went to Lincoln University. There are only 2 in Pennsylvania. Only 2. 107 across the United States. 2 of them are in Pennsylvania. Cheney and Lincoln, as I said. So let's talk now about 2-year junior colleges, community colleges, and trade schools, because I think it's important for you to know that it's not the end-all be-all to go to a 4-year university. It all depends on what you want to do and if you are ready. That's huge, because college is not like high school. It's entirely different. It's like nothing you've ever experienced before. I myself went to college, but it was much later in life. I did not go at a young age, and I did not stay on campus away from my family. Some of you may want to go for that very specific reason, to be away in a different atmosphere. But you'll find that it is very, very different than high school. In high school, specifically CB, we surround you with people who care about you. We work extra hard to give you what you need when you need it. We are flexible with your coursework, which is why you are awarded benchmarks and not A, B, C, D, F grades like in a typical public high school. You're expected to do, earn all your credits in a year and move on to the next grade, and we don't do that. We cater to you. That doesn't happen at colleges or universities. You are expected to live up to a higher standard and be responsible for the work when the work is provided and when it's expected to be returned to the professor. Now, that's not to say that professors won't help you, and there isn't any peer groups, because there are. There's tutoring available. There's different types of groups and activities that you can belong to, which make it really fun. But it is very, very, very different than high school. You are expected to be mature and grown and be responsible for yourself. There aren't anyone, typically there's no one looking after you but yourself. So for 2-year colleges, there's a couple different ways you can look at it. 2-year colleges mean just that. You go for 2 years, or less even if it's a trade school. It could be 18 months to 2 years. 18 to 24 months is like a year and a half to 2 years. There are 14 public community colleges in the state of Pennsylvania. Sometimes 2-year colleges are called junior colleges, like Manor and Cabrini. There's technical colleges, like Thaddeus Stevens, Gene Madison, the Penn State College of Technology, and there's also city colleges. And what these colleges do for you is they provide a lower level education, but that doesn't mean that you don't come out with a certificate, a diploma, or even an associate's degree. So you can earn more money. And some of the trade schools, you're stepping out into the world after less than 2 years with the ability to make $50,000 or more a year. So don't snub your nose at 2-year colleges or trade schools. There's good reason to look in their direction. Typically, 2-year colleges are lower in tuition and fees, no matter which college you attend or which major you choose. Your first 2 years will mainly consist of the same set of classes, like I talked about with the 4-year colleges. Your first 2 years of school are spent doing English, history, science, and social studies, just like you did all through your secondary school, high school, all the way from kindergarten all the way up to high school. You had to take those subjects. The difference between the 2-year college is you don't really need to take as many of those before you start diving into your actual major, which is why you only have to go for 2 years to get the diploma or the associate degree or the certificate that you're looking for. It's also an opportunity to improve your transcript. So if you're coming out of high school with a less than 2.0 or 2.0 or less GPA, a 2.0, in case you didn't know, is around a C, like in the 70s percentage-wise. So most 4-year universities won't look at you if you're below a 3.5, a 2.5 GPA. So going to a 2-year community college is a great way to improve on that. You can go to college and prove that you can do it, and then after 2 years transfer to a 4-year. Also, lower living costs, greater flexibility, easier to work, more support, And the same quality professors that you get at a four-year university also adjunct teach at community colleges and junior colleges. So you're basically getting the same education for a lot cheaper. Just some things for you to consider um, when you start to look at colleges and really start to think about what you want to do next. That's it for today. Feel free to browse through this again and again. You are going to be doing some projects around colleges. You've already done all your assessments, hopefully. You've done your strengths assessment, your interest assessment, your learning styles inventory, and your personality assessment. And all those things combined are going to help you choose a career that's really going to fit you specifically, um, which leads to just a happier life altogether, whether you choose a four-year university or a liberal arts college or a community college or a trade school.